The theme for August is the awakened state. This is what Loving Light, which is what I channel. It is the version of me without the weather, as Loving Light refers to it. So really, when I think about that, it's my point of consciousness that is not in the human realm of reality, but is close enough to me that I can access and speaks the way that I'm able to access the words for and things like that. So we all can channel our souls, which I've talked about in other videos and I'll continue to talk about. And soul really for me is defined as that point of consciousness that is you, the divinity inside who you are, beyond the human body tool that we use, the mind tool that we use, the emotional tool that we use to access ourselves. August is known as the awakened state. So how I did this is I first channeled this message from Loving Light and I wrote down the themes as I channeled it. I really just did a written transmission, which is what I was guided to do as I was napping my son Jasper on my shoulder. I didn't want to speak and wake him, and I just felt compelled to write it instead. And so I was typing away. It worked out great though. And I'm really thrilled to share these themes with you because I think they offer good insight. If you're hearing walking around, my husband's just about to take Jasper on a walk. So let's dive in. I'm going to start by reading you the beginning of the transmission, and then I'm going to go over each theme. I'm not going to read the whole transmission to you, but this way you'll get an idea of what it is. Maybe we'll bring Loving Light on. I'm not sure. The screen is up. If you see me looking like this, it's because I'm looking at my notes. All right. The August energy update. The path to your own awakening is accessible to you now. The energies are coming to a point of integration for many. And this means the separation, as we've talked about in previous months, continues to widen. But those on the path towards the light, towards the 5D, they're feeling more and more aligned with who they are. And they may have moments of wandering, of forgetting, but this is their opportunity, our opportunity, to get on the path towards our own awakening. And so August is known as the awakened state. It doesn't necessarily mean that we are awakened, but it is the intention that we can set out for ourselves. And the theme really is the Great Awakening. It is a part of the Great Divide. And these two themes are a huge part of this whole year and into the next. Okay, so that is what Loving Light said to me to introduce it all. Before I dive into the specific themes, I want to share this. I pulled this tarot card, and I don't know tarot. I don't know all the symbolism. I have very little understanding of it, and I'm actually trying to keep it that way because it allows me to take it in with a very fresh, innocent type of perspective so that my ego doesn't get bogged down by knowing the system, and instead I can really focus on what comes up for me intuitively. And so I've just told you what Loving Light shared as the main themes, and this is the card that pulled up from it. And what I got when I pulled this card for August in this Great Awakening theme, the awakened state as the intention, and the Great Divide, which you'll find out about soon, is the first theme. So when I pulled this card, what I got from it is that we are still living in duality and likely will be for maybe even as long as we're in our human forms. Because part of being human means to be separate because we're using the tool of the body as our access point, our soul's access point to take in the world. And so this card represents that duality. But August is the time to be the man or woman or however you identify behind the duality, witnessing the duality and even manipulating it a little bit. And you'll see the two sides here to me represent the duality, but they're connected with the infinity symbol, which to me gets to that idea of being beyond the duality in our effortless, eternal way of being. And so I felt like this card was very fitting. There are ships in the background, and that to me gets at what's coming up, what you'll find out in the themes about which path are we on and how it can feel like we're farther away from our destiny than we might really be. Without further ado, I kind of hinted at it already. The first theme is the Great Divide. Oh, when I hear this, it kind of feels heavy, right? But what Loving Light shared is that this divide has and can going to continue to be occurring. And this time is when light and dark, almost like yin and yang, these two coins in the tarot card, even if that's how you want to interpret it, they can feel even more extreme. And it's because the sensitivities of the world have been heightened. So the feelings that are surrounding us, especially those of us who are very attuned to their surroundings and their bodies, which is often those watching these sorts of videos, are really feeling deeply. And so you on the path, you feel extensively. And so the division feels even more intense to you than it might to others. Those in the love, and I mean, we're all in the love, but those that are living from that love and living from that light, and also those in the lack and environments where they're not in awareness, can seem to be in separate realities. And it's because in a way they kind of are. This division continues to happen. And so it does create a lot of pain. This is something Loving Light shared with me. It can come across in our human bodies in a very painful state, because when we're attuned to what's going on and we're really sensitive to it and we're looking out and we're seeing it, it feels like the world is lost at sea, like our tarot has in the sea in the background. And so a lot of what we're talking about today is going to relate to this idea. And you can feel like you're in turmoil. And it can be really hard to witness those who seem like they're misguided, and you just want to help them. You just want to bring them back. You just want to nudge them on the path a little bit, but that is not what we're here to do. Oh, I know. Sometimes we just want to, help mold people back onto the path, but we are not here to be manipulators. We are here to be alchemizers. We are here to be manifestors. We are here to take charge of our own energy, and that broadcast, it helps us come from a place of broadcasting out as opposed to overly taking in. And so those sensitive and feeling the intensities, we have that magical power to evolve it back out, which means bring it in and alchemize it out. It's not that it's your job or that you're supposed to do this like in a martyr capacity, but it's that because you're aware of the sensitivities, don't let yourself drown in the sea by taking too much in. Help yourself approach from light. And that's where we go into theme number 2. What is it? Ooh! Irritability. Oh. All of this potential to alchemize can make you feel quite irritated. Emotions are heightened. The duality pendulum is swinging in full force. There's overcorrection on both sides. And I'm not just talking about like a political left and right here, though you might see it expressed in that way, but it's those seeking the light versus those surrounded in shadow. Those feel like two sides of the pendulum. And I purposely said seeking the light, because to seek the light is to imply a lack of having it. To seek the light implies you're not in the light. And so this is coming still from a lack mentality. So both seeking the light and being surrounded in shadow, those are the extremes of the pendulum. That means you're caught in the chaos of the duality as opposed to being the witness behind it. And so what we want to do is we want to get out of this dichotomy, because neither are living in the light of the awareness of the love of the light that we are. And this is really the dilemma of that great divide, because division implies separation, severance, a wound. neither whole without the other, this and a that, a 50-50. And while that is true from a human perspective, the key to awakening and where we are invited to live from in this great awakening is the other side of the great divide, which requires wholeness and connection. It means that we're not seeking the light, we are the light. We're not surrounding the shadow, but alchemizing the shadow. We are owning the light within, claiming it for ourselves, because when we claim it for ourselves, we bring it forth. It shines brilliantly out from us, and it invites others to do the same because they'll feel it in our presence. So how do we do this? Okay, this was my favorite part of August. Here we go. Theme 3. Oh man, I feel like I have been waiting for permission for this to be a theme, and it felt so good when it came out. Self-approval is the path forward. To get to the awakening, which is really more so just realize your own awakening, to awaken, and evolve at a layer that doesn't require living in this divide so intensely, means you see beyond the path and instead are the light itself. Okay, I just read that because that's the direct transmission. What does this actually mean in a more grounded, not grounded, but more simplistic way? Self-approval. If you can show yourself that you approve of who you are, no matter what, it means you're getting out of judgment. Because if you judge something as right, it implies there's a wrong. And so if instead you come from self-approval, which sounds like a judgment, doesn't it? Doesn't self-approval sound like a judgment? Well, it's only a judgment if there's an opposite. And what we're saying is this is unconditional self-approval. People talk about unconditional love all the time, which is kind of that emotional side of this. But the cognitive mind, what often people refer to as the ego, though I have another video talking about how the ego doesn't exist. What? I'll link to it with this. Anyways, from a mental capacity, a mental body, self-approval can be unconditional. And when we make it unconditional, we're not condoning bad behavior. We're saying, no matter what, I approve of who I am. And what that gives us is the freedom from duality. Because there's no, I approve in this moment, but not the other. It's just all approval. And what it also means is when you approve of yourself, you actually start to approve of others even more too. It feels weird to say that, but that's what I've noticed in myself as I've been applying this theme ahead of time. It's like, because I feel content with me, I don't have a weight on my shoulders. And so I'm not trying to scurry back into getting in my own good graces by bringing other people down or by seeing what I think they're doing better than me so that I can get there too and be okay. It takes that entirely out of it. So you can breathe. There's relief. There's a release of pressure, and there's the contentment and a peace. So you don't have to feel like you're trying to find the path. You're literally living the path through self-approval, which gets you beyond the duality of your own judgment, which helps you live beyond that duality of the great divide, to be the witness. It's not about finding the middle ground. That's not what this is. It's about living beyond the idea of the continuum. And one way that we can do this, other than the self-approval, is to realize our fourth theme, we are at the place of the converging of your own timelines. So when we're talking about this, we're not talking about this from a collective state, though that is happening. This is really about the integration and the collapsing of all of your own timelines. And so psychologists often talk about integrating the shadow. And so we have whole therapies on different parts and internal family systems that look at the different aspects of who you are. Well, the goal of that separateness is to really understand these different capacities of you. And the theme in August and beyond is to help ourselves bring ourselves back together. And not just in this lifetime, in all our lifetimes. And when Loving Light was sharing this with me, I thought about that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I thought about the idea of all of the different universes, all the different realities we live in, and the relief that I found in knowing that if I don't have something that I want in this reality, I can relax because there is a version of me that has it. This isn't to give up going for what I want, but it's a way for me to release the pressure or attachment to think I'm supposed to be a certain way, because I know I am that way. I just might not be focused in that reality at this current time, and I don't need to judge that. I can approve of me. Remember? Theme 3. And so theme 4 plays off of that theme because we get to approve of all of the timelines that we live in. And we don't need to know what all these timelines are. You don't need to go and try to meditate and figure out what these different lives are or find the one you want, though we might play with that a little bit in future videos on manifesting. This is really another way to get beyond duality because it releases the pressure from yourself. Every timeline, every dimension of reality has a part to play. This is about lifting your timeline through self-approval so that you don't have to sit in the suffering so much. You don't have to feel at the whim of the waves so much because you're grounded in your own self-approval, which is going to get to another theme about joy that's coming up soon. Theme 5. Be fiercely gentle with yourself. Loving Light said this as, be gentle with yourself with the ferocity of a lion. Gentleness is fierce. That is the level of conviction we want you to have with yourself. Gentle like the saying of the mama bear. And in this moment, I saw a picture of a lion and the male lion with their mane wild and free and roaring and pacing from protection, not from fear, but from fierceness. That fierceness is love. It is gentle in the sense that it allows there to be space for your innards, your inner self to fall apart because you're holding yourself in your own container because you approve of yourself. You approve of yourself. You're converging the timelines, and a part of that means letting go of separation. In a way, you're separating from separation, which means there are going to be moments when you fall apart emotionally, maybe even externally. Your life seems like it's falling apart. And so we want to be gentle with ourselves with that fierceness, ferocity of a lion. A lion is what came to me, but if there's another word that comes for you, another animal, like a power animal, or even a state of being, maybe it's like a mountain, maybe it's an element, something like that. Whatever holds that ability for you to feel as your own container to yourself, use that metaphor for you. Okay, the other thing about animals is they're free of the ego. They're like living in this instinctual, not just preservation and survival, but reproduction too, and in the moment. And so I really like that instinctualness of it. Find ways for you to practice tapping into whatever this lion is for you. If it's not a lion, whatever that is for you. And so for me, what came up is practice by sitting literally in darkness with my eyes closed and envisioning the light within pouring with a force, like a waterfall, fire hose force, or lion's roar force out of my heart center and surrounding me in light. Like a crystalline capacity of light that is a protection in itself, but it's not protection from fear, it's fierceness. It's protection because it's pouring out so much that there's no awareness of the darkness. It's unable to access me because I am emitting my light so fiercely. Okay, so that's one thing, and it's not really a question, but ask yourself what it is for you to practice showing yourself that fierceness. It might be a practice like what I just shared, or it might be something else you need to ask yourself that question if you feel called to. I'm going to check in with Loving Light. Is there another question you want them to know? What does it feel like to be in the witness capacity? What does it feel like to be that witness to your own life? What does it feel like to be in that position? Because you can always help yourself, watch yourself, watching yourself, watching yourself, watching yourself, watching yourself. Every timeline is a movie. You're playing the part. You don't have to stay in the movie you're in. You don't have to keep playing the part that you are. It doesn't mean that timeline doesn't continue forward. It just means your current consciousness of focusness does not focus there. You are not the movie. You are not the body that you're in. That is just the tool. So that is with this movie, which is why you can have things like instantaneous healings. And so we bring this up to you to ask yourself first, what is it for you to practice being fiercely gentle? Second, what does it mean to feel like that witness? And third, what movie is aligned to who you are? What body is aligned to who you are? Sometimes this means we need to allow ourselves to live in our imagination, to live from our imagination, and know that our imagination is often more real than the illusions of the physical manifestations surrounding us. Whew. Okay. That's what Loving Light had for me. I didn't know those questions were going to come out, but I wanted to share them here. Our last theme, joy, just joy. I don't always like the word joy. I sometimes cringe at the idea of joy because it doesn't always feel right to allow myself to feel joy when there's so much suffering in the world. I was also told that as I use the word and allow my timelines to converge, the word will not spark contrast and division. So the word will eventually spark wholeness. And it's okay that I'm not here now. And I'm to be gentle, like we talked about, in myself. This is what Loving Light said to me. You know how when you go out, if you're going to go camping or you're going to go hike in the wilderness, you don't just go. You pack supplies. You pack maybe first aid kit, maybe some food, some water at least. You bring something to help yourself be safe. Maybe a phone, maybe a map, whatever you might bring. And so joy is what we want to pack in this reality. So what this means is to pack joy, which in a way, another way they talked about it is to pack it like you're in your joy bubble. And they even told me if that means stop watching the news, stop watching the news. People will revolt against this idea because they'll tell you you need to be informed. And what Loving Light said to me is informed of what? That's just one side of the story. That is living in a duality that focuses on one half of the equation because the news is designed to entertain, and entertainment for human minds often means that lack. I'm sure you've heard that before. That's why news stations that just share great news don't thrive, don't exist. And that's not the solution either. But for right now, if not turning the news on helps you stay grounded in your joy, do that. If you're going to give up eating chocolate or drinking, you don't start by keeping the alcohol or keeping the candy in your house to test yourself. No, you build your reserve, that pack of resilience or joy. You build that up so that then once you kind of get over that initial hurdle of showing yourself you can do it in that setting, you can bring that resilience, or in this case, joy, with you to other settings. But you don't have to seek out those settings now. You can build that joy pack. You can do things that make you laugh and happy. So I'm going to read you directly from the transmission. If it means hermit, do so. If it means don't watch the news, don't watch it. It's not that you're not staying informed. For watching the news to stay informed is not very informative of what is truly going on. The news focuses on the manifestations of the energy, not the energy itself. It's like thinking of the thermometer as the temperature. Instead, focus on the temperature, the you, your energy, and surround your field and your physical environment with that which cultivates joy. This is you filling your pack, your joy pack. Don't forget to pack it. It's the only thing worth packing. And the packing process is about the people you surround you with, the places you give your attention, the tasks you agree to and those that you don't, and how you do the things and what you allow into your field. August is not about going out into the wilderness. It's about preparing the pack. The wilderness will come. You don't need to find it. You don't need to seek it. Just prepare the pack. And so that's what we have for you for August, that overarching theme of the Great Awakening. Thank you.